Hi everyone, I thought I would do a series on how to hack as black, where I'm going to be showing you a series of really aggressive black openings where you can try and steal the initiative off white. And the openings also are very sound. Some are a little bit unsound, but they're only really going to be unsound at GM level, and I doubt a GM's going to watch the videos, well, to watch them to learn something anyway. And they will give you very good practical chances at club level, and are very good especially in rapid play, because many are very sharp gambits full of traps that unprepared white players can fall into. I wouldn't recommend playing some of these openings on a regular basis. Some like the King's Indian and Dutch, which I will be covering, could be played all your career, but some like the Albion counter gambit are going to be used mainly as a surprise weapon. I thought I would start the series by looking at the King's Indian defence, which is a good way to hack, especially if you're in the classical lines. It starts off with white plays d4, so d4 is going to lead generally to less sharp positions than e4, but there are still ways to hack at it. And you play knight to f6, and the advantage of the King's Indian, as you're going to see, is that it can be moved over, played like against almost anything. Like white can play say c4, the main line, then you got g6, but white could say play knight f3 here, and then you just simply play g6 again and say, I don't know, bishop f4, the London system. You can just play bishop g7, and after e3, d6, c3, castles, bishop d3, and then say knight c6. We have got you've got your King's Indian formation, and you're going to see exactly the same moves played in the main line, so it can be played against anything. The main line is c4, which you're going to see most of the time, especially the higher up you go. Now g6, and now will come maybe knight c3 or knight f3. There's also other interesting options, but the main one is knight c3. Might as well look at the main lines first. But knight f3 usually transposes to main line, and now you play bishop g7. You see, black's not moved a pawn beyond the third rank, but it's going to like devote pieces to good squares and then counter-attack later, as we are going to see. And so the lines are very sharp. You're going to see white trying to hack black up on the queen side, and black will try and hack white up on the king side. It's very risky. It can be very risky as well. And now you see that black's decided not to prevent e4, and this is a very hypermodern style this opening. So white will play e4, and now you play d6, stopping an e5 advanced. And now there's a few options there for white. The main line, at the very, which also has a turbite theory, but it's probably the most fun to play against, is knight f3, castles, bishop e2. And now the battle lines are being set. You can hit the centre with e5 or c5, but the main one is e5. And now white can either play maybe d5 or the main line, which is castles. So let's just run through the main line, which is knight c6, provoking the d pawn to advance. Then you play knight e7. And now white has the bayonet attack, which is b4. An interesting possibility, which is actually starting to put the King's Indian out of it at top level a bit. Although you still get like Nakamura and Rajabov playing it successfully, and Bolgan. But this is the bayonet, where white's going to try and play c5 as quick as possible. And white's queenside attack is coming fast, but of course black can maybe like switch his knight back to e7 to put a stop on c5, and then push the f pawn forward. And then push the g pawn and the h pawn. You're going to see a lot of times the knight move to clear the path for the f pawn, and then the f pawn will just be rammed down white's throat, followed by the g pawn and the h pawn. And if black's attack comes through first, he will usually win because he's going after the king, whereas if white's comes through first, he might win a couple of pawns, but he won't get the king for a while. But black does expose his king if the centre opens up, so it is pretty risky. However, another main move is knight e1 or knight d2, after which you move the knight to d7, which is better than knight e8, because knight d7 stops the c5 advance for the time being, or white has to prepare it more. And now white will usually white can play bishop e3 here, which doesn't seem that particularly brilliant, I don't think, even though it's one of the main lines, because the bishop later loses the tempo. But the bishop's a good square. I mean, White's going to be trying to attack on queenside with these moves. You see this c5 advance, which breaks through on the queenside, is going to be supporting more. And now black shouldn't hesitate and just get on with his attack with f5. In fact, I'll just do this video on like the knight f3 and bishop e2. I'll do like the side mission and other stuff in another video. I've got unlimited time. I don't want to make the videos like ridiculously long. And now, first of all, I'd like to say that the best move for white in this position is f3, and then black will play f4, and after bishop f2, keep the bishop on its diagonal to support c5, and now g5. And now this, you can see this is a very aggressive opening. I mean, both sides are attacking on the opposite wings. I'll just draw a few arrows to show you the basic plans and that. The green arrows will be blacks, and the yellow arrows will be whites. Also, watch out for bishop sacrifices on h3. If white plays h3, a lot to break up on white's king, and also knight sacrifices on g2 can be common. You see that white's going to try and break open the C line and infiltrate there and win some material, and also try and get black's king, because in fact all these pawns will open up some space. And also you may notice that black's bishop is very bad, and although it can come alive, it is usually a very bad piece, but it is quite handy in protecting the king. And black's queen can swing into the attack, where maybe the knight on e7 will move to g6, and then after g4 queen g5 can be played, or queen e8 to h5 is possible. Also moving the king and bringing the rook to the h line is also strong. There's several good plans with both sides here, but both sides are going to be attacking on opposite wings. Practice actually has favoured white, but that's like, you get Kramnik, who's never really going to get hacked that much by it, although Kasparov hacked him several times. But if because defensive technique isn't as popular at amateur level, isn't as like strong, then black's attack, which is usually likely to succeed, and this is very good, this opening. And it's quite easy to play as well, black's attack. Just after there's also try and sacrifice stuff on the queen's side to speed up your attack. Hopefully I'll get my game back where I played the king's Indy for the first time, and it gets a knight f3 and bishop e2 line, and if I get it, I'll do a video and put it as a video response to this, just so you can see some more ideas. So that's the this is like the main line, and then white might play something like a4, which is interesting. Or maybe what else could you play? Maybe rook c1. It's interesting. It's really interesting. You need to know it quite deep though. Let's go back. But also after castles, instead of castles, another interesting move is d5, which is like the Petrosian system. And I've been looking at this a lot recently. And the move I quite like here is a5. The idea is to clamp down on b4, and then maneuver the knight from a6 to c5, which is a very good square, and if you play a5 it can never be kicked out by b4. And the knight also puts pressure on the e4 pawn, which can't be defended by f3 while the knight's in the way. So this is a good plan. And then white may, I don't know, castle or something. And then the theory, no, not castle, sorry. Well, I could do, but the theory seems to be bishop g5, pinning the knight, and now you kick the bishop. And then say it drops back to h4, you play queen e8, getting out of the pin. And then you will next play knight h7, and f5 and h5 follow, or h5 or just f5 with some dynamic play. And you can also you will see is knight a6 to c5, and a very interesting game emerges, and also a sharp one, and go for some hacking up. I mean, out of the openings which I'm showing for hacking, this is one of the more soundest, and you'll see super GMs play stuff like this. Also, if you don't want like a5, then the main line is knight bd7. But a5 is a very common move in King's Indian to stop b4 kicking a knight out at c5. What else is there to show you? And the knight f3 and bishop e2 classical. Well, there's a lot I can show you, to be honest. It's such a terabyte of theory, but I don't really know all of it. I need to learn it more, but I know enough for my level, I'd say. I'll tell you a few bad moves white can play. Let's just go through the main line again. A bad move here which you might see is f4. This is bad because black can chop on f4, and after bishop takes f4, you notice that in the last line, look how bad black's bishop was. Look at it now. Look how powerful that bishop is. If you can actually get the bishop active somehow, it's absolutely deadly. It's like more deadly than the dragon bishop. And also a trick is, even you're going to see this a lot in the side missions, that even though black's bishop is bad in a lot of lines, if it's traded off, black's position actually falls apart a lot, because the bishop is a very good shield for the king, especially when you've advanced all these pawns. But now, do not play f4 as white in that position. f3 is better. And also, you can like now take on e4, and after knight takes e4, and black's also got half an open f line as well to work with. And black's better in this position, definitely. See what else there is. If you're white after these moves, so we'll just go back to the start to run through it all. And I'll tell you some more features of the position. First of all, as for piece exchanges, although you try and attack as black, the piece exchanges usually favour black, because if you notice that because of the d5 pawn, white exerts like a cramp on black's position. White's pawn setting is a lot stronger, so piece exchange usually favour black because of his cramped position. So you should welcome piece exchanges as black. Also, if you advance the c pawn in the King's Indian, watch out for, and you play d5, watch out for d6, because it's a backward pawn and a potentially half open file if white takes. So that's something to be cautious of. And also try and get the bishop active if possible. Also, a lot of time, move the knight and throw the f pawn down white's throat in this line. And a5 a very common move to secure the c5 square for the knight. And all in all, this opening gives good dynamic chances to black. At the highest level, the win percentage does favour white, but mainly because defensive technique is very strong, and white can a lot of the time survive black's hack attack and win the endgame or something because of black's dreadful bishop. But to be honest, I find this line from white's point of view, which I played 1 or 2 games with, absolutely no fun at all. And also, in some lines, the knight can go to h5 to f4, which is very strong square, and if white takes it off, then black plays e takes f4, opening up his bad bishop. And also, you can get a lot of Benoni type positions in King's Indian if you hit the centre with c5 rather than e5. So it might be worth looking at the Benoni as well. And there's a few transpositions as well. There's even 1 or 2 transpositions to the Perk and Philidor to be wary of. So we'll have one last look through the main moves. There's many more videos to come on this opening, because I've got to look at the Averbach and the Saimish and the 4 pawns attack and the Maginov and the Kramer system and a few others. It's the 40 E-core codes to King's Indian. But anyway, let's have a look. So d5 and castles are very common here. By the way, if d takes c5, you might notice this pawn's actually attacked more times than it's defended, but takes. We can play, we just play rook e8, something. And the knights and pawn are skewered. So the pawn's going to be regained with interest, and then dark square bishop's diagonals open, so this favours black. So don't take, by the way, if you're white. Either play d5 or castle. Castle is main move. And now the battle lines are being set. White's got this cramping d5 pawn and a lot more space on the queen side, whereas black's going to play f5 after he moves his knight, and move it to d7 rather than e8, by the way. And black's going to attack on the king side, white's going to attack on the queen side. A very sharp game is ahead, and if white isn't careful, he will suck some to a bishop takes h3 sack or something, or queen h4 and g3, and will lose quickly. So this line is very good for hacking with black, and if you're an aggressive player who wants to try and hack d4 up, then I'd recommend this opening. Now the line to probably be more scared of is b4, but also is knight e1, and then this is the main line. And now I'd recommend looking at some more books on it. There's plenty of good books and DVDs. Like there's a good one by Bolgan on the King's Indian, you know, Victor Bolgan, which is really good. And for now, I hope I've persuaded you to take up this dynamic opening. It takes quite a bit of time to get used to its unique dynamics, where you like cramp but have a really dynamic position. It is really aggressive, fun to play, and very good at club level and even GM level. And you see many games from Kasparov and Fischer with it, and Nakamura. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this introductory video in the How to Hack the Black series, and I will do many more of it in the future. But for now, please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.